So what makes a comic or a graphic novel stand out to you?
I think what draws me to a graphic novel is partly the artwork and the style that it's drawn in, but also what themes and topics it talks about. I have a lot of similar style ones that I'm drawn towards that I really enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle books, movies, podcasts, comics, and more. Where there's a story, there's a reason to read. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, and joining me today is our wonderful returning guest, Cat Trites.
Hello.
Welcome back into the studio, Cat.
Thanks.
How have you been?
I'm great.
So, Cat has been on a couple of these episodes before, but we continue to welcome her back because she is one of the most bibliophilic people that I know, meaning well-read and constantly reading and constantly absorbing media. So I feel like I always have a lot to talk about with you, and it is rarely the same thing.
True.
To that end, I know you've been on before. Is there anything you want people to know about you before you tell us what story you've brought today?
My name is Kat. Today's my birthday, so I'm 34 now.
Happy birthday!
I'm a teacher here in Taiwan. I work with young children, and reading and literature is one of my passions.
Mm-hmm. And also what you studied.
And that's also what I studied.
It's another reason I like to bring you in here. So what have you brought for us today? It is more different than I think many of the other things we've discussed up until this point.
Usually I bring in novel-style books, but today we're talking about a graphic novel.
Think of sort of like a comic, but usually with a much more narrative bent to it. We're not really going to get into litigating what is the difference between comics and graphic novels today. So what's the name of this?
This is called Monstress by Marjorie Liu, and it's the artwork is done by Sana Takeda.
So this one is interesting because graphic novels from Japan versus in the West. Mm-hmm. And I find that like in the East Coast, in the East Coast, I guess so. But in East Asia, in East Asia, oftentimes the writer and illustrator is the same person.
Right.
But from North America or Europe, they often tend to collaborate. There will be a writer and an illustrator. Regardless of whether or not either one of them is capable of doing both, I think that's just a much more common thing to do in the West. So Marjorie Liu and the illustrator this time was?
Sana Takeda.
Sana Takeda. All right. So I have heard a lot about this from you.
Yes.
But before we get into kind of a summary, is there anything that you think we should know about the story?
The story is a fantasy, meaning there are monsters and magic. And it is set in a matriarchal society, so it's very female-driven.
Mm-hmm.
It's set in a world that is not Earth.
And definitely not Earth.
Definitely not Earth. But the culture and the story is inspired by Asia.
I should also say we're only covering the first book because this is a graphic novel series. So without further ado then, could you get into the summary of Awakening?
Yes. So Awakening starts with a slave auction.
Oh boy.
So right off the bat.
Right.
Starting strong with a slave auction. And our main character, Meika, is standing in a room with a few buyers around. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about what allows her to be sold. And the trait that it is that she's not human.
Huh.
Even though she looks human, she is not. That's what allows her to be sold and makes them not be like morally corrupt.
This is the morally allowable thing to do because she's not human.
She's not human, so it's acceptable.
Definitely not drawn from real life in any way whatsoever.
And what makes Meika stand out is that she has a brand on her chest. And
I need to just be quiet. I need to be quiet because this is just like, I'm going to make too many snarky comments. Okay, I'm zipping my lip. Yes. I'm almost muting my mic. Let's go.
Okay. And she is taken by the witch nun of Kumeya, an organization that is in a position of power. It's a religious organization, but their religion is science.
magic is perhaps an aspect of science or an aspect of the world
Yes.
studied by science in this
Yes.
universe.
Yes.
Okay.
And so she's taken by this witch hunt. She gets brought back to their cloister. It turns out that like this symbol is relevant to the witch nun, and she's interested
brand
in it.
that she has.
This
Okay.
brand that she has. However, Meika is there because she wants to be there. She put herself in the position of being sold as a slave because she is hunting someone who is at the Kumeya cloister.
Well, what an inversion. Okay.
Yes.
I'm aboard. Let's go.
She gets into the cloister and suddenly a monster is bursting out of her arm. So she has a amputated arm.
Okay.
Yes.
So Meika usually, when she appears as a human, would also then appear to just have one arm.
She has half an arm, amputated at the elbow.
Okay.
Yes.
So then once she gets to the cloister, that arm that is amputated up to the elbow then becomes a monster arm, or the monster kind of like pops out of that
basically
arm.
out of her arm. Yeah.
Now, do you mean that like, or she is the bottle for the genie and the monster pops out of it, or like the monster is physically tethered to her, or she becomes the monster like a werewolf?
Tethered to her, but it is a separate entity. However, she is not human even without the monster.
Okay, so it's not werewolf-esque. It's a monster literally pops out of her arm.
Yes, like Lovecraftian. Like
gross. I love it.
Yes.
Let's go. Okay, so now at the cloister, there's a monster running around. It's connected to her arm.
Yeah. She basically destroys. Like
The
just
cloister.
goes through. Yeah. Absolute destruction.
She and the monster
Goes on a
working
rampage.
together, or the monster
Yes.
through her?
She has a goal in mind, so she's headed somewhere specific, and she and the monster are working together at this point.
Okay.
And they're like, I mean, the monster is causing its own destruction.
Yeah, they're kind of like burning it up. It's like releasing a rabid dog.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
Her goal is to find this witch nun named Yvette, who used to be friends with her mother. And we learn that Yvette has this mask that she and Meika's mother had found. And Yvette has this weird, like, Gollum relationship to this mask, like Lord of the Rings Gollum.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like, this is her precious thing, and she's like...
It might be manipulating her.
Yeah.
Like she's magically perhaps cursed or compelled to want to keep and
Yes.
protect and obsess over this mask.
Yeah, obsess is the right word, yes.
Okay.
And we learn that Yvette is the reason why Meika's arm is amputated, and is also the reason, the mask and Yvette are also the reason that this monster resides in Meika's arm.
Okay.
So
Is this I don't know. No, I'm not going to ask. Keep going.
so Meika fights Yvette, beats her, kills her, takes the mask. And then this confrontation with Yvette raised more questions about Meika's mother. So now she's on a goal trying to find answers to these questions that she now has about her own mother.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, she gets pulled into another court and is like held captive by, I think it's the ancients this time, so it's another race of people who are now holding her. Now the mother superior of the Kumeya is also now looking for her because she just wrecked
She annihilated this
a cloister. Yeah,
Okay, so she's wanted.
so
at
she's
least
now
by the Kumeya.
definitely
She
wanted
is
by the
definitely
Kumeya.
a prisoner.
She's a
of,
prisoner from of the
ancients?
ancients in the Court of Dusk.
very fey.
Yeah, and she's still on a hunt for all the answers.
The answers.
'cause she's got this monster in her arm, and the monster requires that she like feeds on humans a certain amount of time, and so like it's exactly. It's just a thing, and she doesn't. She would prefer to be rid of it.
Okay, yes. Yeah. So it is sort of werewolf-esque in that way, where
Yes.
like I would rather be cured of this, but it does
Yeah.
require extreme violence and or
Yeah.
consumption of people that I don't really want to do.
Yes.
And then is that where the awakening ends?
So the awakening ends. There's like a boss battle between Meika and Mother Superior.
She catches up to her.
Yes, and there's this like big boss battle between them, and that's kind of where the story ends.
Now, here's a question, because this is a
Yes.
common thing in the medium of comics and graphic novels, especially because they're episodic. So does this story end with the conclusion of that battle, or does it end like mid-battle or even at the beginning of it?
So in the course of this battle, we learn that the Mother Superior is not herself human, and she's been hiding this the whole time because she's the Mother Superior of the human cloister, which is the ruling party, basically. And in the end, Meika makes it out of the Dusk Court with her friends in tow.
Having defeated the Mother Superior or on the run from the Mother Superior?
Meika and her friends have like escaped, but we know that this fight isn't finished, and the Dust Court is not happy with them having left, and the Kumai are still not going to be happy with Meika, right? And the old one, the monster that's in Mother Superior, has this goal of releasing the monsters so that they won't be tethered to people anymore. And we learn that Meika's monster has betrayed the other monsters. And so that's kind of where the first book is ending.
I see what you were saying before. So this is, a hard summary to get through without spoiling too much, because now you know all the answers.
Yes.
And I know nothing. Well, I know what you've told me here. It does sound really exciting, though. I do love a good call to adventure, which is, this feels like that answers. Yes. It's not exactly hero's journey, call to adventure, and then refuse it. But it does have that very addictive sort of, here's a big problem, and here's why you can't ignore it. And I love that. That's really fun.
Yes.
So what makes Monstress so meaningful to you?
I think what I like about Monstress is how well it tackles trauma.
Oh, okay. Please go on.
Because all of this is taking place in an era that is just barely out of a war. And so not only do we have all of the dehumanization of monsters and arcanics and people who are
sort of like
not
othering.
human.
Everybody is othering everyone else.
Yeah. So we have all of this happening, but we also have every single group that we interact with is also dealing with the horrors of what they just went through in a war.
What was like inflicted.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question then? Was this war that you're talking about, is it sort of like a World War-esque, like everybody got involved, nobody's getting out clean kind of thing?
So the war started because the humans
always
got always the humans got deep into science and basically started othering everybody else and deciding they were less.
Other like fantasy races or like even fantasy races of perhaps people
they also
that are not.
realized that they could harvest magic from other people, and they could use this harvested magic to heal themselves or to raise the dead.
Oh, and I'm sure that went well.
And
there
I'm sure
weren't
that
any
went
problems.
great. Exactly.
Right. Okay. So then in this case, the humans would be like taking a fantasy elf, for example, and then kind of like ripping the magic out of them and then using it for their own devices and kind of using these other species, these other sentient species as basically magic batteries.
Yes.
Okay. So that didn't go over very well.
Yeah.
And there was a war. And so the series overall, but especially I guess in this first book then, a lot of these times these are really like establishing books. They kind of are trying to set a lot of this up. Yes. So do you still see a lot of that trauma reflected in the people that you meet? Or is it something that, since this is the beginning, you're just sort of getting a feeling for like, oh, there's something a lot bigger here that I don't really understand yet?
I think in the first book, a lot of it is just kind of scratching the surface. You're just kind of like, you've just met Meika and you know that she's messed up, but you're not really sure like what else she went through. And we kind of get flashbacks of things that happened in the book, and we kind of start to understand what she's processing and dealing with, or we get flashbacks of things that happened in other parts of the war.
And was Meika like alive in the war?
Yes.
Okay, so this is an experience that she also shares with everybody.
Meika was part of, and so you get these flashbacks of her experiences, and you kind of see why she is as traumatized and as messed up as she is.
And so then, before I ask you, like, what do you think makes this a tale of our time, I want to ask to dig into that just a little bit deeper, because it's the handling of the trauma, which is something you said that you like. So what do you mean by that when you say, like, how the material handles these characters, and especially the main characters, like personalized trauma?
I think a lot of stories tend to balk at going deep into trauma and like getting gritty and dark with it, and Monstrous doesn't. Monstrous goes way in, and it gets dark.
It feels like it started there.
Yeah.
I had to like,
it starts dark and it doesn't get any lighter.
I had to lean way back from the mic to stop from like adding commentary as to like, and we're just adding layers of badness
and it's
to
getting
this.
worse, and everything's getting more worse. She's got mom trauma now. Like, yeah, everything just kind of piles on.
But it feels like the way that you're describing it, it still holds weight. Like it doesn't ever feel like it gets into the light tropiness, even though, like we've discussed, tropes are not a bad thing. But sometimes when we start these stories, and especially in graphic mediums, like they can get into sort of a like trite, like background layering of trauma. And it sounds like that is not what happens with Monstress's handling of it.
No, I feel like they don't shy away from recognizing how dark it can get, but there's consistently something that pulls it back. So one of the other reasons that I love this book is because there's so many amazing female friendships. And
Preach.
Yes. And so the a lot of these trauma arcs happen, but we have all these female friendships that kind of keep it positive and keep it going. Maika,
or able to like pull people out from like that spiral.
Yeah. Maika's starts off her story with her best friend Tuya, and Tuya is like, "Are you sure you want to be doing this?
Like, are you not
like,
actually good?
You're not. Yeah, this isn't like a weird suicide attempt, is it? Like you're going into this place that wants to kill you. Are you actually good?" And we start strong with like, "Hey, hold on,"
and that kind of like checking in, that like support continues through the series.
Yeah.
So then, what do you think makes Monstrous, and more specifically, Awakening, a tale of our time? Or another way to say that would be, what meaning do you think other people could find in it as well? If that's not it, if it's not sort of support through hard times.
I think I think that what makes this so powerful and so relevant is how it handles all these sorts of different issues that come up. So there's racism, right? You have the religious aspect, where people either go too far into religion, or like maybe religion can be a positive thing.
Maybe like not far enough in terms of like, I don't believe in anything and everyone is subordinate to whoever wins. Yeah. Darwinism to the extreme.
So you have all these different concepts that are like the overarching issues and that people are fighting wars over. But then you have these powerful friendships that are happening, and these powerful relationships between people not always from the same race, and they're able to kind of overcome all this and work together for whatever their purpose is. And I feel like that's very powerful.
Yeah. It's always nice. Like, it's always nice to see, and it is always like really well to see it done really well. I got all my words mixed up, but I wanted to say, like, it's always nice to see it done well.
Yes.
Because the theme of like crossing into and like befriending the other, or like rehumanizing something, and especially a group of people who perhaps culture or those in power would prefer that you didn't, for me always hits really hard. But sometimes, like we were saying before with the trauma, it can really feel like we're just hitting the message over the head, or like not trusting the readers to get it. So whenever you can get that in a nuanced and what feels like a real or believable way of people crossing those bridges, I think that it can result in a very powerful story.
Yes, I agree.
So we're out of time. But before we go, if you could give Monstrous Awakening a one-phrase subtitle of your very own, what would that be? Oh, I dropped my pen, sorry.
So my short subtitle is, "We are all a little bit monstrous."
Oh, wait, did you do that by yourself?
I did. I literally wrote it in here so I would remember it.
I know you're a writer, and I do this a lot, but like, wow, that's so fun. We are all a little bit monstrous. I love it.
Thank you.
Honestly, that made me want to go read the book like more, just like listening to your subtitle more than, not even more than the summary, but like this is, now I feel like I'm getting it back to the imagery of like piling things on. Like this makes me want to read it a lot.
Yay. Very good.
Oh man, but we are out of time. So, Kat, as always, thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you.
It is such a joy to have you.
Thanks.
And thank you to all you listeners out there. This has been Tales of Our Time on Radio Taiwan International. I was your host, Amanda Stevens, with today's returning guest, Cat Trites. And today we were discussing the first book of the Monstrous series by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, Awakening. We are all a little bit monstrous. A tale of our time. We'll see you next time. You're listening to Radio Taiwan International.